If you work in quality control at a candy factory, you know strict safety regulations come with the job. It's why you partner with Grainger. Grainger helps you find the high quality and compliant products your business needs to inspect, detect, and help correct issues. And the sweetest part is, everyone gets a product that's as safe to eat as it is delicious. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Hi everyone, thanks for joining me on today's episode of 20 Somethings. I'm Tico, and I love when I get to bring back guests who truly make an impact on this show. And this particular person is someone who I can count on to bring thoughtful takes and a whole lot of wisdom. They've shared so much valuable insight with me and shared their perspective before, which I'm so grateful for. And I know that today will be no different. So it's my pleasure, my privilege, my honor to reintroduce Imani. Welcome back. How are you, love?
Thank you for having me. I feel so
Sure.
special to be
You are.
back.
You are special.
Hey, girlies,
And the gays and the they thems and everything in between.
everybody.
How are you, babe?
I'm good.
I'm happy.
Spring allergies are beating me, but
Well,
we
yes.
persist.
We persist. We persist. Today we're gonna be diving into a topic that affects pretty much everyone at some point, which is body image. We're going to be talking about the impossible beauty standards we grew up with, the pressure to look perfect, whatever that means, body dysphoria, eating disorders, plastic surgery, and how social media has us all comparing ourselves to people who probably don't even look bomb.com in real life. And
hmm
listen, this episode isn't about telling you how to feel about your body. It's about getting real about what we go through, where these issues come from, and maybe, just maybe, figuring out how to be a little kinder to ourselves. You know what I mean?
I 100% agree, but disclaimer, disclaimer, disclaimer.
Yes, please. Go ahead.
Please take our words with the tiniest grain of salt. We are
Yes,
not
yes.
licensed professionals. We're just two people having a chit chat.
Thank you. Thank you. I needed them to know, like, that is so important to know. Like, we are just here to have an open, honest conversation about our experiences with body image. So I'm so glad that you gave that disclaimer. So, yeah, let's dive in. I feel like body image is something that's been a constant struggle for a lot of us. Like, some days we might look in the mirror and feel okay, and other days it's like we can't see anything but flaws. And it's frustrating because even though we might know logically that our worth isn't tied to how we look, that doesn't stop the thoughts from creeping in sometimes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do know what you mean. And I think it has to do with conditioning,
Mm-hmm.
especially conditioning for boys versus girls.
Yes. Yes. Would you care to
Girls are
elaborate?
girls are taught to you must always be presentable, you must always look pretty, your
Mhm.
hairs always need to be done, your clothes always need to be a specific way. You always have to appeal to the male gaze in some way,
Yes.
shape, or form.
Yes.
And I'm liking the trend of the younger generation being like anti-male gaze with their outfits
Yes. And
because they're
decentering men.
and decentering men because they are taking up space and owning their own bodies, owning their own sexualities, owning their own femininities and how they feel to present it and how they feel to costume their body in their fashion. And I think it's phenomenal.
Yes, I support that 100%. And, I'm so glad you brought that up. Like, how gender expectations can influence not only how we are perceived, but how we perceive ourselves. And so I'm curious, like, for you personally, like, you identify as non-binary, right?
I'm vibing.
Right. Okay. Well, I mean, this is your journey, of course. So I'm just curious to see, or if you're comfortable sharing, of course, no pressure, no rush. But how has, your own perception of your identity conflicted with what society tells you you should be? Like, how have you navigated over the years? Like, Do you have
Yeah,
an idea of how to explain that? Like, your own identity and gender expectations and the like.
I think for me,
Mm-hmm.
I like to joke that my aesthetic is a rich dad on vacation.
Vibe. So vibey. I love that.
That's the vibe that I want to go for.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to be effortlessly comfortable
Mm-hmm.
and look cute in a possible cute linen two-piece set.
With the cane on the top hat and the monocle over the eye.
No, man, that might be a little too much for
Like
me.
I'm picturing like the Monopoly man, like that,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
or
But I don't know, man.
the guy on the peanut. Like what's the name of that guy? Oh God, you
Oh,
know,
I know which guy you're
yeah,
talking.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But that's the vibe. I see the vision. I really do.
That's
But
a vibe.
I know, but it's just interesting to me because something that people don't really talk about much when it comes to like body images, like body dysphoria, especially for trans and
Hmm.
non-binary folks, because it's one thing to feel like you don't fit beauty standards, but when your body itself doesn't feel like you, that's a whole different struggle. So I know from personal experience and of course observation, for people who don't fit into strict gender roles, body image can be even more complicated because I think
Yeah.
for a lot of us, whether we're trans or non-binary, are just not fitting into traditional beauty standards. It's like we have to prove something with our bodies. Like if we don't look a certain way, people won't take us seriously. So, for example, if you're like male to female trans, you feel like you have to look like a stereotypical woman, whatever that means. And so it
Hmm.
kind of becomes like, and I hope this isn't like offensive to say, but it's like a caricature of womanhood, where it's just like you're ultra feminine, like, big boobs, lots of makeup, high heels, just so no one can like clock your tea that you know that you're
Hmm.
trans. And so I feel like that's a lot of pressure to carry. Even if you're like female to male, trans mask, like you have to present as
Perform
masculine, yeah,
masculinity.
perform masculinity. And it's like, what is that about? It's like you want to be comfortable in who you are, but can you pass? Like can you pass as a man? Like what does that even mean?
Hmm.
And so I'm sure gender dysphoria can make it painful to look in the mirror. But I'm sure people who are not even non-binary or trans suffer from gender dysphoria, right?
I would think so because I think now people are warming up to the concept that gender is a spectrum.
Yes, yes.
And in warming up to that concept, people are not allowing themselves to like explore
Mm,
their gender and the presentation of their gender. So
right.
you now have cis het straight men
Hmm.
doing things that would be predominantly deemed as stuff for the queer community.
Right. For example, like
Though
what,
that,
painting their nails or like wearing earrings.
you know, I don't consider that. I think that's like kind of like normal.
Is it? I mean, it depends. Like if you're growing up in an environment where that's not the norm, then it's kind of like very subversive. But I can see how it's become
Yeah.
normalized. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
But give me an
I don't
example.
know.
Like what? Give me an example of what you mean.
I think for me, it's more so men being more comfortable in their femininity
Okay.
because
Yeah.
men are taught to be very much macho and, oh, I'm a man, I need to do X, Y, and Z.
Hmm.
And maybe it's because of the men that I'm around. They're
Yeah.
more comfortable in their femininity, they're more comfortable being soft, they're
I
more
love
comfortable in
that.
showing their emotions.
I love that.
And I'm just like,
Are any of them
when I
single?
go
Ask
out,
for friends.
we can talk off air.
Well, yes. Well, yes. Continue.
But I feel like that space is now opening up for people to explore gender.
Hmm. And
And
I'm
I like it.
so glad. I'm so glad. It's less restrictive. It's more freeing. It's so fun to witness people be secure enough to tap into, you know, their own expression of self. I love to see it. I really do.
Yeah. Yeah, but unfortunately we live in this country.
Oh God, don't get me started. Don't get me started. But yeah, I think we're in a very interesting time right now. I feel like culturally, this is perhaps the most progressive that our men have been. I mean, yes, back in the 70s, like there, and 80s as well, there was this whole like glam rock aesthetic where people played with gender expression. Men were comfortable wearing makeup and wearing long hair, and women were comfortable wearing suits and short hair, and I miss that. And I feel like, you know with fashion, it is always influenced by the past. There's always like this nostalgia
Hmm.
element, and so it's really interesting to see how even today we're pushing those boundaries and borrowing from the past and seeing how much further we can go. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. But to your point of our society currently being a lot more progressive,
Oh,
I
not
do not,
Jamaican society. I meant just like, I mean, culturally as young people, but not Jamaican
yeah,
society. Right. But sorry, continue.
I'm screaming. I agree, but if we put the spotlight on the Jamaican society,
Sure. Of course. Go ahead.
I would have to say, and don't shoot the messenger, please, I beg. This is my point of
They're
view.
loading their bullets as we
I
speak.
I would have to say a lot of our progressive nature is performative.
Ooh, hot
It
take.
is
Hot
done,
take. Spill that tea.
I feel it is done to appease the
Hmm.
wider market because they have people breathing down their necks
Ooh.
about it, and or they're trying to appease people who might have funding.
Ooh. Wait, so
I believe a lot of it is performative.
do you mostly see this on like social media or actually in real life?
In real life,
Ooh, name and shame.
that's
Name and
all I will say.
shame.
But for me,
Mhm.
I feel a lot of the progression is performative
Oh, so
because
what?
even in spaces where they say they're progressive,
Hmm.
there will still be instances where you have to be like,
Right, right. You
no,
have
we're
to
not
really
doing
check
that in
them. You
this.
really have to educate them. But maybe it's from like a place of like not to like justify their ignorance, but maybe it's
Hmm.
from like a place of not having that education in, what's cool to say, what's not cool to say, and not cool in the sense of like trendy, but cool in the sense of acceptable, okay. Does that make sense?
I think that's one aspect of it, and I think there's another aspect of it where it's just plain ignorance and
Mhm.
willingness to be ignorant.
Right, right. And we're grown folk, we're all grown here and we're all adults and like we can't allow people to continuously be babied. Like the resources are there for you to educate
Google
yourself.
is free.
Google is free. Like you can't expect everybody to like tell you, teach you, spoon feed you everything that you need to know. You have to take initiative and accountability. But I feel like I like to show people grace because we're all in like a constant state of like learning. So I try
Hmm.
not to be too, you know, you should know this by now, but I'm just like, I don't know. I don't know. But I understand where you're coming
I'm not of the mind of you should know this by now. I'm
from.
more so of the mind of this is a topic within our current global society.
Hmm.
Take the initiative to at least do a quick Google search.
Real. So real. So real. And like speaking of like gender, do you feel like you've had any experiences of gender expectations affecting your body image or like your self-esteem? Like, has that been like something that you've had to like contend with?
That's the whole existence of being a girl. Because
I feel like, playing Madonna is what it feels like for a girl right now. Like, oh my God, like womanhood in general, it's performance art. You know what I mean? Like, women are performance artists because you have to play this part
truly,
24/7. And, oh, God, probably why I love women. You know what I mean? Like, not romantically or sexually, but just in terms of like a pure adoration and admiration
mhm.
for everything that they have to do. But yeah, it's just interesting how, you know, gender dysphoria in general can affect things in the sense of like leading to depression and anxiety and a whole lot of self-hate. And it makes me sad to think that, society really forces people to go down those dark paths. But I'm glad that, some people find comfort in things like binding and padding and, HRT, hormone replacement therapy or surgery. Others don't, and that's okay too. So the point is, there is no
Whatever floats your boat.
exactly. The point is, there's no one right way to feel at home in your body. But I am curious, like, when was the last time you personally felt 100% happy with the way you look? And be honest. Because from the time
Never.
we're kids, never. Oh God, so real though, so real. And I feel like the reason for that
I
is, go ahead.
I feel like at some point
Mm-hmm.
you get comfortable with where you are.
Okay.
But I don't feel like there's ever been a point where you're just like, oh my gosh. Then again, this might just be my own personal issues.
Ah.
As I said, don't shoot the messenger.
It's funny because I was going to say from the time we're kids, like we're fed these insane expectations of what we're supposed to look like. But
Yes.
I I don't for me, from my experience, like I can't say, and I hope I don't sound like a narcissist, like I can't say there's ever been a time in my life where I thought I was unattractive or anything. Like, there's never been a time in my life that I can remember feeling ugly or looking at a picture of myself or going in the mirror and feeling anything but cute because I know I'm cute. As I've always been cute, I always will be cute. If anything, I want to like enhance what God gave me and not necessarily get rid of. But at the same
Uh-huh.
time, I can definitely remember growing up and being teased by my brothers specifically for being a little bit chubby, like when I was younger, which is hard to believe now because I'm such a twink. But there was a time when
Not
like I was
swing.
it's true. But there was a time where I was a little bit like I had meat on my bones. Granted, one day during puberty, I just randomly woke up and I was like skinny. And I just managed to maintain that during my teenage years and early adulthood. But yeah, like when I was young, I was chubby. And I remember
Hmm.
one moment in particular, one of my older brothers called me like a pig for going back for seconds. Like I had, a second meal, like a second dinner. And it hurt my feelings so bad. And it kind of stuck with me for a bit. But I don't know if it affected my relationship to food, but I think it has definitely made me care about men and their opinions about me, which is insane because, like, I definitely want to decenter men in my life, but it's hard. It's so hard. And I need help with that, definitely. Because I'd be
Just
like,
stop caring.
easier said than done. But I'd be lying if I didn't admit that I've let men affect how I perceive myself. I've been guilty of appealing to the male gaze. I've been guilty.
Hmm.
Like, whether it's like,
We all have been.
all have been, which is a shame because they're just like literally just some guy. Some guy, who cares what he thinks? But whether it's like a family member or like a significant other or somebody you have a crush on, you want to please them in some way. You want to be perfect for them. And it's just like, it's not fair, but it's the unfortunate reality. But I can definitely remember like wanting to drink like flat tummy tea to stay thin or drinking apetamin to like be slim fit. Slim thick. Do you know what
Wow.
apetamin is? Do you know what it is? Like,
N- No, I don't.
okay, let me educate the children. So, and of course, I'm not endorsing this at all. It's kind of dangerous. But essentially, apetamin is this like syrup, and it's not really legal, but it is accessible here in
Mm.
Jamaica. And what it does is you drink it and it lowers your metabolism and increases your appetite. So it makes you put on weight, but it's supposed to make you curvy, apparently. So I remember like drinking it a lot and sleeping a lot, but also I'd be hungry all the time. And granted, this was the time I was like really like stick thin. And I this was also around the time where like the Insta body aesthetic was becoming popular. So I was like, I
Mm-hmm,
can
mm-hmm.
look like this a little bit. You know what I mean? So I was like taking it. And I was sleeping all the time because it has the same properties as like antihistamine, which is like, cough medicine. And you know how cough medicine makes you drowsy. So I
Yeah.
took that, I slept a lot, ate a lot, and I did put on weight. And I was so validated when people would compliment me and be like, "Ooh, Tika, you have a booty now." And I'm like, yes, bitch, I do. And it would make me want to like drink more. But then one day I had to stop because why am I feeling my internal organs? Like, why am I feeling it? Like, it was,
Um,
it's hard to explain, but there was a moment where like I could kind of fucking feel my kidney. And it's just like, what? So
that's weird.
very weird. So I just stopped and I never took it again. But I say all of that to say I have definitely, had instances where I wanted to appeal to certain aesthetics. And so it makes me curious, like, what's one beauty standard you think is especially toxic?
Just one?
Actually, you can list them all. Like, we've got time. We've got time.
Let's start from the crown of the head.
Oh, okay.
The
That's
texturism in the Black
yes.
community.
Mm-hmm. Unpack that. Unpack that.
If your hair texture
Like
is
like 4C
looser
hair.
curled,
Mm-hmm.
no, 4C hair is the issue apparently. If you're
Mm-hmm.
like anywhere between 2 and 3, and like the early parts of like 4A, your hair is a
Right.
lot looser. They love it. You have quote unquote good hair.
Mm-hmm.
And then 4C hair is the struggle bus. You have 4C hair, hairdressers are charging you extra, all of that jazz.
Which is so shameful because like black hair is so versatile. Like you can do so many things with like black hair. And there's nothing I love than a good afro. I love to see it, but I just hate the idea that like afros are like unprofessional, especially in the work environment. Like what the hell? What
It's
does that
so
even
dumb.
mean? What does that even mean? Your natural hair
Exactly.
your natural hair is unprofessional. Hate to see it. Hate to see it. But yeah, I'm so glad that like you mentioned that because so many things that are affiliated with blackness are not commonly respected or seen as like unattractive. Like featureism is a thing. So if you have like
Yes.
a big nose or big lips, that's
If you have more Afrocentric features.
exactly, exactly. Which is ironic because most of the beauty trends do tend to like borrow from natural features that black people have. But, people who aren't black tend to like capitalize off of that. It's very interesting to look at, I think. Like, big lips, like lip filler. If they don't naturally have
Yes,
plump lips, or a tan, if they're not like naturally like melanated, it's very interesting to witness. So that's why you can't really take these beauty standards seriously, or what quote unquote they say is ugly, but
true.
whatever, whatever. What's another one that you think is toxic?
Uh, let's see. Ooh, body modifications
Ooh,
on the black body.
such as like you mean
I
like boob
think,
jobs, like BBLs, like that's what you mean?
no, no, no. I'm for plastic surgery. Do whatever you feel to do to your body as long as it is safe and
Mm-hmm.
you are consenting and
Right,
you are within your right mind.
right.
Also, know your limits when it comes to those things. That's just
Mm-hmm.
my view.
Yeah.
I'm talking about more so tattoos,
Okay.
piercings, scarification.
Okay. So you mean like things that are associated with certain tribes and cultures?
Not only in that sense, but also in the modern sense
Oh,
of
like a
how,
regular
our
black. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
our generation has like 10 million piercings, 10 million tattoos.
Yeah.
And once we are seen, specifically by the older generation,
Mm-hmm.
we are automatically classified a specific way.
Like thugs?
You don't have a job,
Right,
you're not educated. Why would
right,
you do that to your body?
right,
Especially in the Christian Jamaican society, your body's a temple. Why would you do
right,
that?
right.
And I like to tell them my body's my temple and I adorn it how I see fit.
Ooh, I love that. That's beautiful. I agree. I
So
agree.
if you want to look like a clean slate, good
Hmm.
job.
That's
That's
your
how you
prerogative.
want your body to look.
Correct.
Don't go around judging people
Hmm.
and stereotyping people
Right.
because they look a specific way.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, because yeah,
Somebody can have a full sleeve and be professional.
or educated. You know what I mean? Like it what how you choose to, as you say, adorn yourself doesn't determine a person's level of intelligence or their worth or their character. You know what I mean? Like someone could have zero body piercings or tattoos and still be a terrible person. And someone could have a lot of tattoos and a lot of piercings and be the most generous, thoughtful, sweetest person you've ever met. So it's like, it's not what's on the surface that matters, it's what's inside. I know it's cliche, but it's the truth. It's the truth. It really
It's
is.
the truth.
Yeah. And it's so funny, like when you first said, body modification on the black body, I thought you were against that. So I was like, where is this going? So I'm glad that,
Oh, no, 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 never.
you mentioned plastic surgery earlier on body
Hmm.
mods. Let's look at the flip side. BBLs, lip filler, jaw surgeries. What's that thing? Buccal fat removal. Which is very
Oh,
interesting.
yes.
Even little treatments like Botox. I mean, some people are all for it. Other think it's reinforcing unrealistic standards. But the truth is, it's complicated because for some, surgery is about confidence, fixing something that's been a big insecurity. And for others, which is perhaps the more dangerous side of it, it's chasing a look that's been sold to us. But the sad part is, even after the perfect surgery, a lot of people are still unhappy. But I have mixed feelings about plastic surgery. On one hand, I think people should do whatever makes them happy with their bodies. But on the other hand, I wonder if we actually want these changes or if we feel we have to have them in order to be accepted. I mean, it's a tough conversation, but I think the key is making sure the choices we make about our bodies are really for us and not for anyone else. Personally, I'm averse to needles, so it's very unlikely that I'll go under the knife. Anastasia, be damned. But I don't like to judge. But for you personally, do you think anyone who pursues plastic surgery does it because of poor self-esteem or mental health issues? What do you think about it?
I think it's done for a myriad of reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Some of those reasons might be mental health issues, poor self-esteem. Some
Mm-hmm.
of those reasons might be for aesthetic purposes.
Right.
They would prefer, for example, breast reductions.
Mm-hmm.
Those things are done for aesthetic and health reasons.
Right.
So I think we can never pinpoint why someone would want to do plastic surgery.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say I would prefer to ask somebody who has done plastic surgery what their reason behind it was, if they wish to share, because they're
Right.
not obligated to tell us in
Ooh,
actuality.
I love that. I just love how, thoughtful you are in your responses. Like, no, I'm just like, how did you become so it's not even about articulate or eloquent, which you are both of those things. It's just there's a level of compassion and empathy in the way you speak, and it really makes me want to step my pussy up. Like, how did you get this way? Were you always this way?
I think yes, to some extent,
Mm-hmm.
but also I kind of trained myself to be this way
Okay.
because one, we're all human beings. We all make mistakes. We all have
Yes.
issues.
Yes.
Two, I strive to become a better version of myself every time.
Yes, we all
Three,
should.
I'm a crackhead, so I prefer to be nice
Crack is whack.
and
What
be
do you
calm,
mean?
cool,
Crack
and
is
collected than end up in somebody's jail cell.
oh my
So
God. Crack is
yeah,
whack.
those are my reasons.
But I love that. Um, yeah, but on the topic of plastic surgery for real, like, is it something that you can foresee yourself indulging in? Like, would you ever get work done?
100%. If I can't get rid of something in the gym, put me on
Hmm.
a table.
It's so funny, like speaking of the gym, like I have a complicated relationship with the gym because for me, like I said, I'm comfortable with my body personally, unless I'm trying to like woo somebody or pursue someone, and then it's like, okay, I have to work out. I have to like, get on this diet. Like, I don't know what that is, mental illness, child. But when I go to the gym, like, I don't know, it's just there's this level of self-consciousness where it's just like everyone's staring at me. Meanwhile, literally nobody cares. Like they're all just like doing their own thing, but you're just so hyper focused on other people's like perception of you and you just feel like you're being judged. And so that's part of the reason I never really go to the gym unless I'm going with someone else. Like having a gym buddy really helps with confidence for some reason. But when you're by yourself, it's hard not to feel self-conscious. Not just that, but all the testosterone in the atmosphere is really intimidating for me. Like male-centric spaces, like not for me.
A
Although,
strong no for me.
yeah, although women go to the gym, non-binary and trans people go to the gym. So who ever decided that the gym was exclusively for men? Like, no. But I don't know, just the idea of just being in a gym surrounded by other buff men freaks me out. How do you feel about going to the gym?
I'm not a gym girly.
Mm-hmm.
I prefer to do my own stuff at home.
Real, so
I
real.
can I can have my own pacing. I
Mm-hmm.
can just take my time. I can look stupid in peace
Yes, yes. And you
and take
can
my time and figure it out.
exactly, exactly. I same. So like I love to dance in my room by myself, to be honest. Like it's the best workout possible. And it's so funny because like I remember buying some like workout equipment, like a ab roller and like those things where you can do like crunches, which I hate. Crunches are the devil. I hate whoever invented them. But I bought all this equipment, I used them one time and I never used them again. Like that's something I need to work on, which is discipline. Like I'll start something and then I'll just lose interest. But I just love people who are like committed to, that lifestyle. Good for them. Like good for them. Couldn't be me. But I wish it were. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do know what you mean. I do wish to have the consistent gym mentality, but I know myself that is above me.
Real. So real. Like, have you ever had like a health juice phrase? Ew. Have you ever had a health juice phase where it's just like you're all about like the green juice and all about the like, you know, not necessarily like gluten-free stuff, but like, have you ever been like, oh, I'm vegan. Oh, I'm vegetarian. I don't eat that. Like, have you ever been one of those people?
Not wholeheartedly.
Hmm.
I do wish to cut certain things out of my diet because I know it doesn't really agree well with my body.
Right.
But like
Same.
100% be like, oh my gosh, vegan life forever. I don't think I can be on that train.
It's too much
No
work.
shade to anybody.
Too much work.
It's not too much work. It's
Mm,
just I would rather explore different options and see how it works for me
right,
before I can fully commit to one thing.
right. No, that's valid. That's valid. Like, I know for me, like during the era in my life where I wanted to be a model, I was very focused on like, changing my diet and working out all the time. Like I one day just decided I'm gonna stop eating meat. And so this was when I was like 16, 17, where I was like, I'm gonna be a male model. And like I was serious about that my male model fantasy. And so I cut meat out my diet to show everybody how serious I was. And that lasted for quite some time. Up until like the pandemic where like we're all like under lockdown. And then I remember thinking to myself, what the fuck? Like, we're all under lockdown. Who am I looking pretty for? Like, what? Like, fuck this. let me go get some chicken. And like I started eating meat again and I never looked back. And it's a double-edged sword because when I wasn't eating meat, it was the most energetic I can remember feeling. I felt like
Hmm.
really in touch with my body. I didn't feel lethargic. But honestly, like something we need to really talk about is how expensive it is to eat healthy. Like just the cost of,
Especially in this country.
especially in this country, it's like, why? Why is that? Like, I don't understand. Like, it's much cheaper to get like KFC or Popeyes or, fast food than it is to get like a healthy salad or tofu or veggie chunks. Not to say that there's anything wrong with Popeyes or KFC per se, because I love a good spicy five-piece tender combo from Popeyes. Like they're really good options out there. But eating healthy is difficult because it's so pricey. You know what I mean? It's unfortunate.
Yeah,
And it's inconvenient because sometimes you're like on the road and it's like you don't really see a lot of like vegetarian or vegan restaurants. So it's like you have to like eat fucking crackers. Like, ah, annoying. So that's one
I
thing
I would rather the crackers, to be honest.
wait, have you tried? Like, have you tried like not eating meat for like a week just to see what it's like?
I've done it intermittently, so I
Mm-hmm.
do eat vegan and or vegetarian sometimes
Yeah,
because for me that just works better for my body.
right.
But also the price of vegetables can be ridiculous sometimes, so
Too
give me some chicken.
ridiculous. Real, for real. But yeah, like I low-key miss not eating meat because it's the healthiest I've ever been. Like those 8 years, like from 16 to like 24 during the pandemic. Like I just miss that energy that I had because like I said, like eating meat makes me feel lethargic and just makes me want to like sleep. And I think I might be lactose intolerant because whenever I eat like cheese or drink milk, I get like foggy headache. And
Hmm.
I don't know if that's like a symptom, but I don't like the way it makes me feel. But I really like the taste of milk and I like eating cheese. So it's one of those like self-destructive things that we do sometimes where it's just like things that are bad for us taste nice. But yeah, I miss that time. And I don't know, it's just interesting though, because as healthy as I felt, sometimes when someone looks thin, we assume they're healthy, but that's not necessarily the case because we don't know what they're doing to maintain that level of thinness. You know what I mean? Because around the same time I started being vegetarian when I was like 16, 17, I distinctly remembered like that was around the time like I like made myself throw up. And it's like
Hmm.
not necessarily like bulimia vibes, but like bulimia vibes. Like bulimia light. It wasn't like a everyday thing, but every now and again. And it's a tough thing to discuss in a way because eating disorders don't always look like what we see in the movies. It's not just about starving yourself or throwing up your food. It's obsessive over calories. It's feeling guilty for eating. It's using exercise as punishment. It's binging and then purging after, you know what I mean? Or hating yourself after. And don't even get me started on like diet culture because that's like sneaky as hell. Like we see those what I eat in a day videos or clean eating
Hmm.
trends and body transformation content and suddenly we feel like we have to earn our food and we feel guilty for like overeating. And eating disorders don't discriminate. Like they affect people of all genders, races, and body types. So you don't have to be underweight to be struggling. But I don't even know where I learned to make myself throw up. Maybe it was Blair on Gossip Girl. Like maybe. Because I remember like reading those books.
Gossip Girl.
Yes, that book was so monumental for me growing up. Like, I remember reading the books when I was like 11 or 12. I remember like saving my lunch money to like get them the bookstore. And then when the show came out, I was like, yes. Like I was not supposed to be exposed to that type of shit when I was that young, but I was. But if it wasn't Blair and Gossip Girl, it was Hannah from Pretty Little Liars, because Hannah was bulimic as well. But distinctly remember, like, there was like this period of time when I wanted to model when I was 16 or 17, and I was like exercising like crazy, and then, you know, starting to make myself vomit every time I ate. And one day I just stopped because I hated the way it felt. Like, particularly like the acid against like my heart, like that was just a weird sensation. But then when I get stressed out, like overthinking about some boy, like, which is dumb in hindsight, but I did it. I would just like do it again, like make myself vomit. And then I stopped when I realized it could fuck up your vocal cords. And as an aspiring singer, that's like a huge no-no. But I don't know,
Yeah, it could
like,
also mess up your teeth.
yeah, thank you. And that's like my biggest fear because have a really nice smile and I'd hate to fuck that up, you know what I mean? But have you ever struggled with anything similar? Like, you don't have to go in detail, but have you ever like struggled with like disordered eating,
Uh,
starving yourself, or anything like that?
I'm not gonna spill my own tea because that's gonna be between me and my
Well,
therapist.
yes, well, yes.
So that's where I'll leave that topic
Of
for
course,
right now.
of course, of course, of course. That's so fair and so valid. But yeah, it's just interesting how a lot of people's relationship with food is influenced by what we see in the media. Like from my own experience, because I would have never known that I could have done that had I not seen it, or read about it in books or seen it on television. And
Mhm.
so I'm just really worried about like the younger generation who's like constantly seeing it, especially on like social media. You know what I mean? Like they're exposed to so many things at even a younger age. Because, like I said, I got exposed to certain things at like 11. So, can you imagine being like an iPad kid, like an iPad baby, and just like seeing all these, like having access to things that you shouldn't at that age? Like, you should be watching Coco
Mhm.
Melon. Like, you shouldn't be seeing or hearing anything about influencers, but somehow they do, and it's scary. And social media can be like a blessing and a curse, but I find that social media can negatively impact how we see ourselves because, you see people with filters and Facetune and perfect angles and body edits, and you see the people who look flawless, and suddenly you're picking apart everything about yourself, like as a preteen. And that stays with you and you bring it with you into your 20s, and it takes so much time for you to unlearn that. And funny enough, it's not just about being thin. You hear about like having a snatched waist or thick thighs or clear skin and big lips,
Mhm.
but not too big. Having abs but not looking too muscular, having a perfect jawline but still looking soft and youthful. And it's literally
It's just unrealistic standards.
and they keep moving the goalpost. You know what I mean? Like you gain one, you achieve one thing, and then there's another thing, and then there's another thing, and it's like, how do you keep up? And let's be real, like beauty standards shift all the time. Like what was goals in the 90s isn't what's goals now, you know? And so we're chasing
Yeah, I know what you mean.
a moving target. Like it's exhausting, but it's wild how
That's
much
why I stopped running that race. I'ma do me.
love that. And what was the final breaking point for you? Like when you're like, fuck this. Like, did you have like a moment like that, or was it more like gradual?
I think it was more gradual because I was just like, what is this?
What is this? Like, truly, that's my response to everything.
Truly, what is this?
What is this? What
Because
is
at the
this?
height of the whole Instagram baddie era,
Hmm.
I realized that this is not healthy
Right, right. Like it
because as a
was.
young person,
Hmm.
you're constantly seeing these
Barbies.
Barbies for real,
Not that
but
there's
a
anything with
lot of them
Barbie.
are,
I love Barbie. She's an icon. She's a legend, and she'll always be the moment. But
we
you
put
know what?
respect on her name.
right, Miss Barbara, if you're nasty. But I, yeah, it's like you see all these people, like you might identify as a brat, but you see all these Barbies and it's just like, damn, competition is stiff, you know?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
But yeah, like it was gradual for you.
Yeah, it was.
Mm.
I
Have you
was
ever,
just like, I'm over the IG baddie era.
right? But have you ever caught yourself like comparing your body to like an influencer or a celeb?
I don't think influencer or celeb, I think it's just a natural thing that people do,
Mm-hmm.
especially when they have areas of their body where just like, I don't like this, but Mary Kate has that, and that's what I want.
Right,
How do I get that?
right. I love that you're checking for Mary-Kate Olsen. Like, that's lit. So funny. But she's an icon. We stand. Her and Ashley. Legends. Like,
Right?
another thing I wanted to ask, like earlier we had briefly touched on like texturism. How do you feel about colorism? Because of course that can affect, how we see ourselves as well, especially when we contextualize beauty standards and proximity to whiteness as being the ideal. So
hmm
how have you reconciled with the idea of colorism? Have you encountered personally any colorist, uh, negative colorist experiences?
I
Have you had
don't
any?
think I have.
Mm,
I don't think I have, excuse me.
mm.
However, I might not have realized because I don't care.
Right. Literally. Has nothing to do with you.
Nothing to do with me.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm still on a journey of understanding that,
Mm-hmm.
both internally and externally, and how those things manifest in sessions of self.
Right.
So I'm still trying to figure that out and
Mm-hmm.
weave my way through.
Right.
But societally, it's still a problem.
For sure. Which is crazy to me because like sometimes I'll be like doing my gay little tasks like on the road and then I'll see some like very gorgeous dark skinned men and women and I'm just like, damn, he's sexy. And I just don't understand like why anyone would ever dare to say that black isn't beautiful. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't make sense to me. And there's like a lot of like cultural like brainwashing that happens like over time. It's been happening for centuries. But it just blows my mind that like still people have a hard time seeing black people as anything other than divine. You know what I mean? Like I can't
We
imagine
can blame slavery.
we can blame so many things, like so many systems. Like, I just can't wrap my head around bleaching your skin. Like, what? Because it's like, I'm not judging, but it's like anyone who bleaches, it's so obvious that you're bleaching. Like, your skin looks like this ghastly, like, gray, and it kind of looks like you're ill, like you're sick, like you're suffering from some disease. And that's not the desired effect. But still somehow in their head they believe the browner you look, the better. And it's just yes, I understand like proximity to whiteness does give you access to status and wealth and all these things that are quote unquote barometers of success. But I don't know, like it's fucked up. It's just fucked up. Like there's no other way to say it.
To
You know what I mean?
me, I give them grace
Mm-hmm.
because they bleach their skin, but we will go to an esthetician to get a chemical peel.
But I mean, there's a difference between like a chemical peel and like
There is,
your skin will
but
regrow. You know what I mean?
yeah, I get what you mean, but they do things to modify their skin. We also do things to modify our skin.
Right,
They just do it at a more extreme level.
right.
So
I
I
guess
try to not
judge.
step on anybody's toes
Oh
and
no, never
judge.
that. Never that. Never that. But I'm glad you mentioned like skincare routines because I used to be like very into skincare myself. Like I'd spend like half of my paycheck, if not all of it, on like skincare products, and I was very like dedicated to it. Like, but then the pandemic happened, and once again, I'm like, who am I looking pretty for? But
Yourself.
real, that's something that I really need to like acknowledge as well. Like, do it because it makes you feel good, not because
Exactly.
you're not trying to impress anyone or, you know, perpetuate any preconceived notion of what it is to look pretty. Like, do it for the love, not for the likes. For sure.
I agree.
But I'm curious, like, do you have any advice for anyone who's struggling with their body image right now?
Uh, Slowly start to acknowledge the things about self that you like.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe if today you like your hair, you'd be like, oh, my hair is really cute today. And as you gradually start doing that, it kind of becomes like a pattern.
Mm-hmm.
And then if somebody's like, oh, I don't like this on you, you're like, that's fine. I think it's cute. So
Right.
what?
Exactly. Right. I love that. Because when you think about it, people's problems with you aren't your problems. They're their problems. You know
Not
what I
at
mean?
all.
You shouldn't internalize that. But it's hard, but you shouldn't. But that's very solid advice. And personally, when you're feeling disconnected from your body, what helps you feel more at home in it?
A nice everything shower.
Yes. Yes.
Good
Like
exfoliating, some smell goods in the shower
some
to just
candles.
ground the body,
Yep. Scented
and
candles,
I'm
love those.
good.
That's perfect. That's like ideal for me as well. Like there used to be a time where I used to love taking like baths, like bubble baths, but then I don't know, just the idea of like sitting in water for so long just gave me the ick. Um, but yeah, showers, like there's just something very therapeutic about it. Like I agree wholeheartedly. And lastly, how has your relationship with your body changed over the years? Like obviously for the better. But it could be for the worse.
I think it's for the better.
Hmm.
We have an understanding now,
Yes,
so we're learning to communicate.
I love that. You have to be your own best friend. Like, once again, cliche. But most cliches are so true. Like, there's so much truth to them, or else they wouldn't exist. You know what I mean?
I do. I agree.
Right. But at the end of the day, your body is just that, to be honest. It's your body. Like, you don't owe looking a certain way to anyone. Like, you don't have to fit into a mold. You don't have to chase trends. You don't have to punish yourself just to be good enough. Like, body positivity is like great, but it's not just like a trend that you find on social media or like a hashtag. Like,
Hmm.
I don't think body positivity means you have to love your body every second of the day because that's not realistic. But for me, I feel like it means treating yourself with the same kindness you'd give a friend. Because at the end of the day, that's really what we should be aspiring towards, being more kind to ourselves. Like, would I talk to
True.
someone I love the way I talk to myself? Like, that's the goal for to
In
really.
my case, yes, because I bully my friends,
No, we should
but it's
stop
all out of
that.
love.
Of course, tough love, tough love. But I don't know. I feel like the goal isn't just to love your body. It's maybe just start small and be less mean to it. You know what I mean? But the end goal perhaps is to love it. But let's start with liking it first. But to start
Yeah,
liking
take the
it, just
tiny
be,
steps.
yeah, tiny steps. Because if you try to put this big, lofty goal on like achieving complete self-love, you're gonna like get defeated at some point because it's like, oh God, today I feel garbage. But if you like take it one step at a time, one day at a time, and just, as you said, learn to like small things, it eventually adds up, you know? Um, but yeah, loving your body isn't always easy. Some days it feels impossible, but maybe the goal isn't to love it every second. It's just to respect it, to give it food, to give it movement, to rest, and to have patience, and to thank it for existing. Like it's delicious. Like it's great to have a body. Like you know what I mean? Like it's weird to be. existing in a body. Like sometimes I wonder what that even means, but it's very cool. And I think that in itself should be worth celebrating. So for anyone
Sure.
who's listening, next time you catch yourself picking apart your reflection, ask yourself, would I talk to my best friend this way? And don't answer that, Imani, because I know you're like, well, yes, well, yes.
No, I
But
was gonna say if you want to take it from a different point of view, if you look in the mirror and you're just like, oh, I'm a bad bitch today, you are a
mm,
bad bitch today. Even if
exactly.
you have tears streaming down your face, you are a bad
Oh,
bitch that cries.
I
I will
love
leave it at that.
we will leave it at that. And that's basically it for today's episode. Before we go, Imani, is there anything else you'd like to share for the children?
Mind your business, drink your water, wear sunscreen.
And be nice to yourself. Be nice to
And
yourself.
that too, obviously.
Obviously. Well, I want to thank you again so much for being a guest on today's show. It's always a pleasure. I can't wait to hear your
Thanks for
thoughts on the
having
next
me.
one. Always. Till next time, take care of yourself. You deserve it. Bye.
Bye.
It's so good.